Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girls Podcast with your host, Jennifer Loading.
And Brianna Drelas. And together we are the Starter Girls.
Where extraordinary decisions produce extraordinary results. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photographer with Glad Models Agency. If you are here in the Dallas or surrounding area and looking for some photography work, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him and his work at photosbywalt.com. Additionally, we want to give a shout out to our friends at the Studio Dallas. The Studio Dallas is the best kept secret in the Dallas podcasting world. If you are looking for a studio with top-notch technology, video and audio recording capabilities, as well as a production team, it's my favorite part, to make things go smoothly, then Studio Dallas is the place to be. You can learn more about them through us at startergirls@gmail.com.
That's right. And head over to startergirls.com and pick up your free gift. We want to keep in touch with you outside of this podcast and also invite you to some really cool stuff that we have on the horizon. So head over to startergirls.com and allow us to help you up-level those decision-making skills.
All right. I think we're ready.
Yeah, let's
get going. All right. Today's a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, my friends, I am super excited about our guest today, Brianna. It's going to be fun. All right, and Tracy's such an amazing person, so I know we're going to have a good time today. So listen to this bio because this is kind of interesting. All right, being told by her doctor in 2006 that she was pre-diabetic and headed towards a future as a type 2 diabetic, Tracy Cromwell had to start making better lifestyle choices. As a yo-yo dieter most of her life, the news of this diagnosis was frustrating, but put her on a solid path to wellness. Today, Tracy is no longer pre-diabetic, feels healthy and strong, taking on century bike rides, eating in a way that supports her body, and finally feeling good in her own skin. Tracy's health journey inspired her to go back to school where she trained in more than 100 dietary theories and studied a variety of practical lifestyle coaching methods as well as science-based personal training. She now helps clients create a completely personalized roadmap to health that suits their unique body, lifestyle, preferences, and goals. She's a published author of 2 books, One Crazy Broccoli, My Body is Smarter Than My Disease, and What's Left to Eat. She says, as a coach, I put the power back in your hands. And so we want to welcome to the Starter Girls Show, Tracy Cromwell. We're super excited to have you here today.
Yay. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm so
excited.
This
is so awesome.
Yeah, we're happy you're here.
And you know what's so fun? Tracy and I have talked, I feel like we've talked a couple different times through messaging and then on Zoom and kind of communicated. And so her story, I love it because it resonates with a lot of, like what I had to go through. But not only that, just that piece about how when you get into that health crisis and it sends you on this journey to figure out how to get better, you learn so much, right? You just learn so much. So I want to, I guess, maybe start off, we kind of said a lot here, but maybe kind of walk us through this a little bit, what was this pivotal decision that just made you really get onto this roller coaster? Like, was this day that you walked into the doctor's office and they said, this is what's happening and boom, I'm going to change? Or was this kind of a series of events that went on for you?
It was a series of events. It was, so when I got the diagnosis, for one, I was in a pretty low state for myself already, because I was overweight. I was a yo-yo dieter. I didn't appreciate my body. I had all this going on. And so getting diagnosed as that was like all right, let's just give her one more thing to be upset with herself about. And so what was interesting though, was I had this, little voice in my mind, my head was saying, hey, maybe we can do something about this. The doctor says I can do something about it. So, let's figure it out. And so I decided that I was going to figure it out. And I knew that I did not want to become a type 2 diabetic. I didn't want to give up. And so I took it as like I had a note, and I'm basically, I've always had been a people pleaser and a pleaser around food and not turning down food. Even though I thought maybe it was making me feel awful, I would still eat it. I feel like I had this note from my doctor to say, hey, everybody, I'm not eating pancakes for breakfast anymore on Sundays, or I have to modify this. And instead of me feeling that I was being self-serving or I don't want to say it, just overly, picky about what I ate, I had a note that everyone understood finally that I actually needed to take care of myself. So, but it took me probably 4 years of yo-yo dieting again, body loathing, beating myself up to get that diagnosis reversed. And so it wasn't an easy journey for me at all. And but what it led to, like I said, was a lot of discovery, and then this big aha moment that was, wow, there's got to be more people like me, and during that process, I had also lost my job during the housing crisis. So I had become, unemployed. And so that was just another nail in the coffin as far as I was concerned in failure as a person, right? And so all of this kind of came together where I had to really look at myself and start making, just, I think the biggest thing, make that change in how I saw who I was and what would make me worthy as a person. So it's a long story short.
I love that. Well, and I think I want to say something that you said that I think is really interesting, because when you were talking about like the people pleasing, and it's so interesting because I was having this conversation today about how everything that we do is kind of integrated. So how we live our lives shows up in a lot of different ways. Like it can show up in our careers, it can show up in our relationship, it shows up in our health. And we don't realize that so much of what goes on that existential side is really rooted in the core, like how we see ourselves, how we view what we're worth, and what we will take and what we will not. So I think you said something very powerful there when you were talking about the people pleasing and really learning how to come out of that, because I think it shows up in every way possible. And sometimes we don't really recognize the connections. So I think this is incredible. And I love it, that it's been this journey for you. There was no like, okay, well, yeah, you had that note. There's always I feel like that one little thing that's sort of the as our guest that we had come on, Dr. Rob Bell talks about with that hinge moment, like you have that moment where you're like, okay, that's my note to say, guess what, world? I got to make some change now, right? But it's this journey of multiple decisions that you do along the way, and it's never ending. It just kind of keeps going, you know?
Yeah. And the other note that I got was, I'm sorry, but the other note I got was about my career. I knew I was in construction for so many years, and I thought I was that was me. That was my identity. And when it was taken, I panicked, but also I thought, oh, I got another note. I can do whatever I want. So I went back to school, like I don't think I would have done that had that not happened.
You just gave me chills.
Totally. No, exactly. And that's what I was going to just touch on, is like how exciting that, just when you're saying like that aha moment too. I think one of the words maybe that you might have been searching for was like, you didn't, when you're saying you didn't want to be picky, it's like, it's so hard, right? Because you don't want to be difficult. Like if you were to, like whenever I go to a restaurant, if I modify something, immediately I'm thinking, oh God, my husband's going to think I'm being difficult, But
or what, high maintenance or something.
Yes, high maintenance, difficult, like all these labels that we want to put in our head, or in our own narrative, right? Yeah. But this is just, it's so exciting because you are able to take something that you've been through and, of course, parlay it into a career for yourself to help others and serve others and, give them some support, which, I mean, I can think in my mind, literally a handful of people that, would truly benefit from what you do and from your books, and because this is a serious topic.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people.
It really, yeah.
Go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say.
Oh, and really,
people, we're on the Zoom thing at the webinar. Go ahead, Tracy.
There's a little delay, so
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I was going to just say was, and with that, there's a lot of people like me that we were just so hard on ourselves, and that just makes it harder. More, you got that negative side in your head that's, oh, you did this wrong, or you this, and well, you're not worth, anything, or whatever. And it can be so mean, and so, having that journey and learning how to speak kinder to yourself, to allow mistakes as you learn your new lifestyle, allow, that side of your brain that wants to learn to have that chance, and really getting the other side of your brain to buy in. And, because it thinks it's helping you and saving you because, well, you got up today. It's not realizing, well, we got up, but we don't feel good, but getting that part of the mind to get on board with you, and that was a big process for me too.
I love it. I love it. So Tracy, what does this look like? Tell us what you do for these clients, how you're helping them. I mean, we kind of have an idea, but I want to hear from you, like how you're helping them and what you're seeing and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I loved what you said in the beginning, because that's what my coaching is about, that we are integrative beings. One area of life will impact another area of life. We can't dictate just, that finally, if you get the job you love, that your health is going to be perfect. You know what I mean? Or that is, if you eat broccoli, everything in your whole life is going to get better. It's all integrated. And so I'll look at a client when we work together in the beginning, and we look over all aspects of their life, and financial, career, joy, social life, education, career. Do they cook? Do they like to cook? Are they active? Do they, have a fitness regimen yet? And even as much as creativity, because all of that, sometimes if one area is so far askew from what you hope it to be, that integrates into everything else. So we assess all of that first, and I get an idea of where they're coming from. And then the other aspect that we work on is then just what's their daily life like now, and how can we kind of start looking at that from the minute they get up to when they go to bed. What do they do during their day, and how can just making some simple tweaks to maybe even just how they're spending some of their time can allow time for self-care, or maybe allow time if they're in a career that, is very distressing, that they can start thinking about maybe what they might want to do different, to also, investigating their food, and not in a judgmental way, so I'll have them journal the first 2 weeks and not make any changes, and know that I'm not going to criticize them. It's just, we want to see what's going on first, so we know where they're at. And then together we make, well, what would be something that we can implement first, and start to test those modifications, test that negative side of the brain that's afraid of change, or the one that's kicking back, or that doesn't want to, a lot of times when we're putting in healthy lifestyles, there's a fear of having to give up. We have to give up something, and that, especially if it's something that's got a real emotional attachment to you. Mine was candy. I loved candy. I loved my popcorn, and I thought my one side of my mind swore we were going to be deprived the rest of our lives if we had to, lean away from those things. And now, of course, my brain realizes we feel so much better. So it's just going through that process over a period with someone. So the idea is that everybody's different. Oh my goodness, my phone. Terrible. Unhook it from my laptop.
It's okay.
Yeah. And anyway, so the idea is that we are all different. So whatever would be right for the two of you, it's not going to be right for somebody else. Everyone's lifestyle is a little different. Everyone's reason for being where they are is a little different. And we want to go, I want to honor that, and help someone feel like they've implemented something that really they're excited to do, and they feel they can do it. And that, when I release them into the world, they're going to be, even on the days when they learn that they'll have still a day that they may have a hard time, that they realize why, and it's not a big deal. They're able to go the next day and say, okay, we're going to make these adjustments. So absolutely. Long story short.
It's great. Like not a one size fits all type of solution, right? It's
right.
It's very unique to each individual. And I think that's a great approach.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing, if I'm understanding everything, Tracy, because I think you and I have a lot of similar mindsets, even though you're doing more on the nutrition base, I think we're similar in the way we think about how this has to be a whole approach. It's not just, hey, let's come in and we're going to cut ice cream out of your diet, because maybe you exercise a lot and yet you don't want to eat ice cream every day, but maybe it's not as a big a deal for somebody who's not, that's not quite as active. And so everybody's life is different. But I think a thing I really love is that you're sitting down and you're looking at that. And you said something I really, really like in there, the creativity part, because I talk about flow so much in our lives and how important flow is to our mental state. And a lot of people don't really understand, flow is the thing that you enjoy doing. It's the piece of your life that we put kind of on the back burner because we often say, I don't have time to do it. I don't have time to play piano. I don't have time to play the guitar, sing, color in the color books, whatever that looks like for you, right? When you and I know that that's essential to your happiness, and your happiness affects your food choices. All of this trickles down ultimately into the choices that you make every day. I'm getting chills talking about that. You see what I'm talking about? It is all together, all of it. Your financial situation.
It's all integrated.
Everything.
And I love, again, how you brought up the creativity, because that's one thing that will stump almost everybody I first talk to. They're like, well, what do you mean? I don't dance, or I don't sew, and they have like a, that like they've lost that aspect of things. So then we'll brainstorm, well, what could be creative? And it can integrate into anything, like you said, what makes you happy, where you will lose hours of time because your brain is just, being creative, and it can be really anything. And so that tends to help somebody release that and, allow some creative time to come in. And sometimes it's just creative thought, whatever makes somebody happy in terms of that they feel that they're allowing that creative mind to work.
That's good.
Even I went and saw 2 movies in the theater this past week, and I love going to the movie theater. I love it. This is the first movie that I've seen in the movie theater, 2 of them. And, but what it does is it inspires me to get creative when I go to the movies. So, even though the act of going to the movies may not be considered creative, it's still an opportunity for me to be fueled creatively. Right.
Yeah.
So could that count?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Inspires,
and I guess that's yep. And again, that's where we can judge ourselves against other people. That's one of the biggest things I had to learn, was to quit trying to emulate other people with what I thought was perfect. What's the perfect creativity? What's the perfect anything? The ideal perfect is us being our authentic selves. And that would mean going to the theater inspires creativity. Absolutely, And yeah, so that's what I just love about it all. It just gets me all excited
too, because that inspires creativity for you when you get to take your colored pencils or your gel, your glitter pens and your Sharpies, and you get in there and you start coloring. It inspires creativity. I could totally see you, like, you put your poster on the board and you just be like,
oh no, it's great. I pump up my U2.
See? And
Joshua Tree,
and you just
I
go.
just go to town.
Hey, I have that album, by the way.
Oh, I hope you do. I would hope
I
so.
have that album still. It's so funny. This is great, Tracy. So tell us about your books. Tell us a little bit about that so our audience knows that they can. Might have somebody that wants to come check it out.
Yes, so I do have a book that was published just this past October, and I'm really proud of it. It's called Your Personal Journey with Food, a Roadmap for the Confused and Frustrated Dieter. Like, I have it right
There
back
it
here.
is. Awesome.
And
Beautiful.
I love, I worked on this book with a co-author, Ingrid Lau. We both met in school, and she's from Santiago, Chile. And when we were, peer coaches through school, we realized we had so much in common, yet we lived almost 6,500 miles apart from each other in 2 different countries. Body image challenges with food, challenges trying to figure out the right food, self-image challenges, scheduling challenges, or just simple knowledge. I can't say that simple, but knowledge about manufactured food and how all of that affects us, and all of that. So we were like, oh my word, we should we should write a book. And so it was finally published, and it's available now on Amazon. And also you can order it through like Barnes and Noble and some of your very favorite independent bookstores. So it's available that way, and also Kindle. But what I love about it, again, was we really wanted to incorporate individuality in the book. And so in the beginning, you actually take some assessments. And the assessments are, again, our theory is we need to know where we're at first, and sometimes take that a bit of a hard look. That can be hard, but do it in a non-judgmental way. So if we figure out where we are on our journey, then we know we can have better idea of what steps we probably should and need to take. And so in the beginning, there's an assessment that will help the reader determine what order to actually read the book in. Because sometimes, she and I were talking, we'll read a book from beginning to end, and it turns out chapter 8 was like the aha chapter.
Right.
It was the one that really drove home. And so we made this assessment so that it would help drive what chapter you should, you ideally might want to read first. You can read it from front to back if you want, but the idea again was we want it to be your personal journey as much as possible. So, and in the book, there's journals and, activities to do. So the idea is maybe you would do one chapter a week, so you can learn the new lesson. And then it's also, it has its a website all set in, that a reader, when you get the book, you get, access to the website for free, and you can download all the worksheets, additional PDFs, all of that, if you don't want to write in your book, or if you want to do the book again. So the idea is it's a perfect ideal book for anybody for their journey, to be honest, with themselves and their food. And, we're talking about self-image, relationships, food sensitivities, the food industry, our intuition, all of those things, mindfulness, and just breaking down even what is a diet. The fact is we're all on diets all the time. Just depends on what we eat. So if we can take that stigma off the word diet, I got to go on a diet. Well, we're all on one, so we just got to find the one that makes our body feel incredible, what makes our body able to do what it was programmed to do, and makes our mind feel great. So we're trying to take that stigma off of that part of the word, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds incredible.
Yeah, I like it. Almost sounds kind of
Thanks.
mysterious too, that you get to go like to what chapter, like drive. It's kind of like taking when we did the Strength Finders, book, and you got to figure out like which chapter you need to be. Forget all the others. You just need to know like what your thing is first. Then you can figure everybody else out, right?
Yeah.
This is so good. This is so good.
Congratulations. That sounds fantastic.
Thank you. It was a long book to create because it was so detailed. And then what I love to say too, Ingrid, decided to have a baby right in the middle of it. So my joke is like, so we definitely put it on pause for that whole time for her. Yeah. So she has a beautiful boy now. He's almost 3, and so I like to joke about the delay.
It's all good. It came out. I do want to ask you a question. We haven't asked this question in a while, and I want to ask Tracy this one because I think she could. I have a feeling she's going to say something kind of profound here. So I want to ask her this question. Tracy, if you were going to define success, what does that look like to you? How would you define that in your life and in your space?
In my life and my space is that there are no mistakes, and so for me, because I was so hard on myself and I was just so judgmental of myself, I'm now realizing that for me, success means that I have found my inner person, my inner self, and I'm allowing her to speak and to be who she is. And I believe that once people figure that out and we can realize that if we step forward in life as our true selves, that's when things change. That's when success happens. We take those shackles off and release the what I should be to what I know I'm capable of and what I know my true self is, that's success to me. And that's going to be different for every person.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I love it, Tracy. I knew you were going to say something good.
Absolutely.
You gave me chills, so it was totally resonating with me because I agree with you 100% about the authentic self. I think it's so important when you figure out who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to live. It is so freeing. Just like I put those heels on today. Tracy, I went to an event this morning, and everybody knows that yes, I wore heels today. That's not my authentic self, Tracy, though. I came out, and my feet were hurting. Here's the funny thing, Tracy.
You're wearing the tennis shoes.
Yeah, somebody actually came up to me at the event and said, "Where are your sneakers?" And I said, I'm not being my authentic self today." I strayed.
I love those checks in that photo that one day I saw. That was great.
Oh, I got them on right now. I'm not going to put my legs up on the screen, but I've got some on right now. I have them on all the time. Like I said, I strayed today, but I just wanted to say I agree with you 100% on the authentic self. I think it is so important to show up as who you are.
Because I've struggled so much in life with so much anxiety because I was so afraid to be my authentic self. Because my fear was that, what if no one likes me? What if I have no friends? I realized, until I'm my authentic self, I won't find the amazing relationships that are right for me. And I'll be living in this, made up version of myself, which is not only harmful for me, but so harmful, the other person might think you're being authentic, right? And so that can happen so much in relationships, because I think it's true. We want to compromise or we want to, do our best to get along with people, which we can always do. But I had to learn. It was interesting. I felt like I was stepping out, like putting my toe out just a little bit. And I was like, I do something that was authentic. And I'm like, oh, I still have friends. And then I'd step out just a little bit further. But my brain was so worried about it. And so now it's like, doing these podcasts, the, interviews or even having my own show was a big deal for me because it was, I basically was taking the last shackles off of my inner self and my voice, and saying, until I speak, what's my life going to be? And I knew I had to speak authentically from that day forward. So
good.
Good for you.
I think we should do some fun questions real quick. And then I'm going to have you tell us about your podcast in a minute, but I want to do some fun questions with that. I definitely think we need to do a food one.
Can I ask?
You can go for it. You can go for it.
Okay. I love food and I love really bad food. I actually ate fast food restaurants for every single day for 30 days straight.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
wow.
It was awful. And then I said, enough. So that was me putting my foot down with myself. It was so disgusting. So I don't really do that anymore.
Well, at least you're mindful.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, I have a sickness. I've eaten fast food 30 days in a row.
I'm like, my body's right now going, after about day 2, I'd be like, help, somebody give me something.
I know. Like I really, and I would do this like once a year. Like I'm not lying. Like it's like once a year I would do this. So the question is what is like your guilty like food? I know you mentioned you like candy, but like what is your like guilty either fast food pleasure or just guilty food pleasure?
My guilty food pleasure, and I'm going to salivate as I say this. So funny. So I still love pizza, but I've learned to find a place that I know when I eat it, I don't feel horrible. But pizza used to be a weekly Friday night thing, and now I'll have it, once every couple months. But it's pepperoni, mushrooms, and olives with extra cheese and big garlic cloves on there. And I thought, if I'm gonna have my pizza, it's gonna be that because that's what I love. And then I eat it really mindfully, and I savor every single bite, and let it sit on my taste buds. The other guilty pleasure, which always makes me feel wretched after, but when I was a kid, and I can see I have a complete emotional connection with this food, which we all have emotional connections with food, but it's a big thing of popcorn with melted Kraft caramels on top. And it's gooey and then a little salt, and it's all gooey and messy. And I used to put away a whole bowl of that, and then I'd just be paying the price, right?
Oh.
So I'll still have that little bit, not so often anymore, because my brain's cued in that it's almost too painful, that my brain realizes now, just, okay, do you want to spend 4 hours, dealing with this, feeling like crap, or are we going to, skip it? I would just want you to know, it's like this little debate, and I'll be like, yeah, I want the 4 hours. I want my popcorn.
I'm ready for this.
It's funny that you say that, because I do the same thing. I have certain things that I think the mindfulness is the thing that kicks in, but there'll be that thing. I do the same thing. I have to wage war in my head. Like, do I want this really bad to suffer for this? And then, mostly it's the guilt. Like, I'll be like, but then sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just do it today because I don't do this very often. I'm going to eat that. I'm going to have it, and I'm going to be okay with it. And as long as I give myself permission, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And then when you decide to do it, what I learned too is you leave the guilt out, because by that time, I think when you're on your journey at this level where you really associate, you hear your body giving you information back, and you're able to associate and understand where it's coming from, instead of, like, what can happen is I would eat pizza, and I would eat the caramel popcorn or the Skittles, and I'd have high anxiety. I'd have a high heart rate. I thought I had I felt crappy.
Right.
And then once I started, like, the connections happen. So what I do now, if I choose to have it, and I know it's something that might make me feel icky, I'm like, well, you knew that was what would happen. There's no guilt associated anymore. There's no flogging, but more of like, I'm sorry, body. I know I chose. Again, there's not a guilty feeling. It's more of an empathetic, hang in there,
You'll get
through
this.
You ate it. Now you got us pay, right? No, I'm with you 100%.
And your body's your poor body's like, what did you do? And I say, okay, we got to have a compromise here, though.
Yeah. That's me.
Anyway,
sure.
That's me after beans. I love bean dip. And my kids even know, once I got the tortilla chip and I'm going in for the bean dip, they're like, Mom, the bean dip. I go, just a little bit.
I'm dying.
Just a little. It's the worst for me. Like, my stomach is like, no, not the beans.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's me with ice cream. I think I love ice cream, and I have to, like, because dairy and too much sugar. Like, I like candy too. If I eat too much sugar, I get very, like, crazy, and so I know that about myself, and so I have to just.
You get really crazy with sugar.
Yeah, I get really crazy. Yeah, the heart starts racing. She's like, "What are you doing? You're doing cartwheels across the wall."
That's why I don't drink Captain Morgan.
That's why I don't drink a lot of caffeine. Like, we know that
Captain
would be a
Morgan
whole other.
is rum, right?
Yeah.
And it's really sweet rum. Yes.
Yeah. No Captain Morgan, right? I don't drink Captain
No
Morgan.
Captain Morgan unless I'm in Vegas, because I get crazy.
Yeah.
This is great.
Or the crack. What's the other one? The Kraken. So.
Oh yeah.
Release
Right?
the Kraken.
Right. This is so funny. Okay, I want to ask you one last question before we wrap this up. So we've talked about creative flow earlier in the show. I want to know what your fun thing is that you do. What is it that you love to do to get in that flow state?
And again, the flow state. Oh my word. So I do have to fight a little bit with my brain, because it's very analytical.
Yeah.
It's very structured. And it wants to be this and this and this and this. So, actually my creative thinking time, I find, is, and I get out on my walks and I do like this really cool interval run and I don't have a headset on or anything. And then it's just me and my body kind of moving together. And then I just start thinking, like, and it's interesting. That's when ideas come. That's when my brain is kind of released. It knows we're away. And then my ideas will come up. Say, my creativity is, how do I want to, do I want to make a video for my Facebook group women, or shoot, I have a better, wait, maybe I do want to go watch that movie I forgot about, or whatever. And so that kind of, that time goes really fast for me, because I think I'm disconnected. It's because I'm disconnected from my interior environment, and I have no input coming in from other sources. So it really has become my favorite thing for creative time, creative thought. So
Yay. I do that too. I think you probably do that too.
Yeah,
I get a lot of my
that's great.
ideas walking the dogs.
Yeah.
And I never have paper or anything with me, so I can't write anything down.
Mhm.
No.
It's always hard.
Oh, and I did get into puzzles. I forgot about that.
Oh.
Puzzles over like so many other people with COVID. Puzzles.
Oh,
Yeah, because you're just
puzzles.
sitting there.
Yeah.
We do
You're like-
puzzles over
yeah,
the
you're-
holidays.
Yeah. I love that. I love puzzles. So that's the other one.
Very,
Awesome.
very cool.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, Tracy, real quick, I guess tell us a little bit about your podcast and then where do we send our
yeah.
people to find you?
Well, you can find me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Just if you look for Tracy Cromwell, Tracy Cromwell. And every Tuesday night, I do what's called Tough Love Tuesday. It's a live broadcast that goes out to Facebook and out to YouTube. And I convert those to a podcast. So it's your personal journey with food podcast. And it's on most all platforms now. And so they're recorded live and, as a reuse so that someone can't watch me or they don't want to go on YouTube or Facebook. They can just go like to Spotify or Anchor, Applecast, Google. Yeah. So, and I think you can search just my name if I got that right, but your personal journey with food based on the book.
Love it.
That is so awesome. Congratulations.
Doing
Thank
cool
you.
stuff,
Thank you very much.
Tracy. You're doing awesome stuff. So we could be here for a while because I think we could talk all kinds of good stuff: nutrition, mindset, meditation, everything. We could be here for a while. I think we were on a Zoom for a while
Oh, yeah.
talking about a lot of
Yep.
stuff. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we do want to say thanks, Tracy, for jumping on the show today. It was super fun having you here and catching up with you and finding out all your good stuff. And you have anything you want to add to that, Miss Brianna?
Yeah, just thank you. Your book looks fantastic, and we didn't even get to see the others, but I'm assuming those are available on Amazon as well. And if people were to follow you or reach out to you on social media, do you have a website that you'd like to send them to as well? Or
Yes. So my website is just my name, tracycromwell.com. And that's where they can learn about me. And then also there's right at the top, there's a link to the Amazon book, and also to the podcast. So right there. And so lots of information there. And yeah, and the other books, they've been, those were co-authored as well. And I think the only one that might be difficult is the second one, the What's Left to Eat, may be difficult to find at this time. But I think the other one Crazy Broccoli, is still there, which is it's a great
That's a great
compilation from authors. Yeah, it's from authors from all around the world and how we all made it through, our health challenges, and a very inspiring book.
Very good.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
We do
Thank
want
you
to
so
say
much.
to our listeners, of course, if you enjoy our podcast, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook, because we can't do this without you, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube.
And head on over to startergirls.com and pick up your free gift so we can keep in touch.
That's right. All right, we're going to leave you guys with a couple final thoughts. Healing may not be so much about getting better as about letting go of everything that isn't you, all of the expectations, all of the beliefs, and becoming who you are. And that's by Rachel Naomi Remen. And then, of course, as we always say, in order to have success, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.